It's time to meet your mentors. Hello, everybody. This is KCSB FM in Santa Barbara, 91.9 on your radio dial. My name is Kian Zamuda, and you are listening to Meet Your Mentors, where we talk with faculty and staff here at ECSB about who they are, what they do, and what life at ECSB is all about. So we have got a very special guest with us today. He is from the mathematics department here at UCSB. Please welcome Dr. Stephen Bigelow. Thank you for being here, Doctor.
Thank you very much. Hi, everybody.
So, we have a great show today, and we're going to talk to you a lot about math and everything in between. But first, we just want to start with what courses you teach here at UCSB.
Courses I teach, well, kind of whatever they tell me to. I sometimes teach large classes in Campbell Hall, so Math 4A. I've taught 34B, 3C back when that was a thing. Also upper division courses, Math 8, 108, linear algebra, and graduate courses in topology.
And by big courses in Campbell Hall, we're talking like 800 students.
Yeah, close to that, yeah.
And then we'll get to your upper division classes later, the graduate classes later.
Okay.
And where and what did you study for your college career?
I was an undergraduate at Melbourne University in Australia and studied mathematics and physics and science courses. And then I did a master's degree there. It started out as a PhD, but then I changed my mind about the exact type of mathematics I wanted to do and ended up at Berkeley. Got a PhD at Berkeley.
Great. And then your hobbies? Do you have any
hobbies? So let me tell you a kind of story about that.
Awesome.
Key Fan used to be a math professor here and was a workaholic. And somebody said to him once, you work too hard, you should have a hobby. And Key Fan said, of course I have a hobby. Every mathematician should have a hobby. Mine is integer matrices. So basically a different field of mathematics so I'm a little bit like that. I'm not a workaholic, and it's not quite as extreme, but I have very nerdy hobbies. Like I play chess online. Recreational computer programming. Does that count as a hobby?
Yes, it does.
I like to kind of mess
does.
around with JavaScript and stuff like that. I like to read novels. Have a couple of dogs. I like to take dogs to the beach, little fluffy dogs.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Little fluffy dogs are nice.
Yeah.
I played chess on a plane ride recently, and I was thinking how hard it would be to make a computer program for a chess game.
Oh, yeah, that would be combining my two hobbies, I guess. I think that would be out of my pay grade.
Well, maybe one day those hobbies can turn into
that. That's true.
We'll see that. Okay, great. That'll take us to our first break. Again, this is Meet Your Mentors with Dr. Stephen Bigelow from the mathematics department. When we come back, we're going to talk more about mathematics and some of his expertise and research. And for now, we're going to go to our first song, and that's going to be a song from the genre of Oz rock from the 90s alternative time period. And this first song is going to be Boxcar by Insect. So we'll be right back after this. All right, we are back. This is KCSB 91.9 on the radio. My name is Keon, and you are listening to Meet Your Mentors, where we talk with faculty and staff here at UCSB about just about everything. And it's a lot of fun. Today we have a great guest on our show. His name is Dr. Stephen Bigelow, and he is from the mathematics department. And we are going to start talking about what mathematics is exactly. So, briefly, Dr. Bigelow, what is math?
What is math?
Yeah.
Have you had a philosopher on this show?
I have, actually.
You have. You should ask. You should have asked them this. It's hard to say what math is. What do you think math is?
What I think math is, I think math is variables representing words almost, and using laws and logic to interpret those variables and solve problems.
Yeah, sorry to put you on the spot.
That's okay. That was the best.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I just asked you because I feel like there are probably a lot of misconceptions out there.
Right.
Maybe I would put less emphasis on the sort of following laws. I think that's the biggest misconception, is that you're just sort of manipulating symbols, because that's what we teach you guys to do, at least up until
Right.
upper division, is like, here's what you do, and then you just crank it out. But when you get to the more advanced stuff, it's more conceptual, and you're trying to sort of notice patterns and prove theorems. And what else can I say? What is math? It's kind of the one subject that's not about anything, because you take things in the real world and then make them so abstract that. And the great thing about that is then they can apply to other things in the real world in ways you didn't expect.
Right.
But when I'm actually studying it, it's kind of not about anything. It's about just completely abstract ideas.
Cool.
I'm sort of floundering for words here.
Yeah. It's hard to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. And then, so your expertise are topology and diagrammatic algebra. Could you explain what those are?
Yeah. I could add another word to that, knot theory. So the theory of knots. There's a little joke about that. Is somebody asked Professor Shalaman, who's professor here, what do you like in mathematics? And he said knot theory, and the student said, "Oh, me neither."
Knot theory.
Not with a K theory. So
I see.
like studying, take a piece of string, tie a knot in it. What sort of can you draw a picture of that, recognize one knot from another, describe properties of it.
I see. Cool.
So topology in general is anything that's sort of spatial like that. It's like you're thinking of objects in space, and you get to draw little pictures of them.
And you describe them with math?
Them, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I see. And diagrammatic algebra? What is that?
That's also the drawing
That's
little
also
pictures.
the drawing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So algebra... Here, let me tie it into something that sort of makes it sound sexy and exciting. Have you heard of Feynman diagrams? That's in quantum mechanics.
I can't say.
They're little pictures with lines, and then you have squiggly lines, and the lines represent electrons, and the squiggly lines represent photons, and you can sort of represent an interaction between particles by drawing a little picture.
Huh.
So these pictures can become kind of knots. So now a topologist might have something to say about them. And in quantum mechanics, you want to say, what is the probability of this thing happening? I'm going to do this experiment, and I want to know, is this photon going to interact with this electron or not? So you draw a little picture, and then there's a rule that tells you how to figure out what probability each little picture has. And now all of a sudden you're doing mathematics. So that's where the mathematics I do. It's funny, I started out, I wanted to study physics, and I was not very good at it. And now maybe that's coming full circle. Maybe I can help the physicists out.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Great. And then, just a little bit about your latest conducted research.
Latest research? Again, making it sort of sound exciting.
Sure.
Maybe more exciting than it really is.
Okay.
So it's Station Q here at UCSB is a little Microsoft-funded project that are trying to build a quantum computer.
Oh, I've heard of that. I've heard of that.
So
it's with Eric Lucero. Is that who it is?
I only know a couple of the people there. Mike Friedman is maybe the head of the math side of it.
Okay, great. So Station Q.
The person you named maybe is on the physics side of it or the engineering.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So I'm coming from the pure mathematics side, which we tend to not actually care if anybody can actually build the thing. We just want to sort of invent it in the abstract.
Okay.
So like I said, you've got Feynman diagrams. Maybe you've got a picture that represents taking some particles and twisting them around each other in some way. And quantum mechanics tells you that you've got the particles and they've got a secret state therein, which is a vector in some vector space, which depends on how they got there. So there's some secret thing that happened that the particles ended up where they are, and now that is sort of, I don't know, God is encoding this in some sort of vector, which I don't know how much math you know. Like a vector, you could just think a sequence of numbers. But there's a huge number of numbers, and somehow nature is doing these calculations just by itself. So if you could somehow tap that, if you could use that to do your own computations, you could manipulate a ridiculous number of numbers extremely quickly just by moving these particles around that are somehow encoding that information.
And we tap
Does that make any sense at all?
Yeah, and we tap into that information using the quantum computer.
Yeah, so the quantum computer would be a way for us to usefully, we have some computation we want to do, and we want to figure out a way to move the particles around and let nature do that for us.
Right. And I think the quantum computer is something like a 0 and a 1 at the same time, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So when I said a vector, so a classical computer, a bit it's either 0 or 1.
Mm-hmm.
A quantum computer, a bit is a vector that is, you could think of 0 as the x-axis, 1 as the y-axis, and you've got any vector at all. And so that's more information.
Yeah,
so,
very interesting.
So,
yeah. Great. Okay, cool. So that'll take us to our second break, and we're going to continue talking with Dr. Bigelow a little bit after the break. And for now, we're going to play our second song. This is going to be Stranded by the Saints. So we'll be right back. This is KCSB 91.9 on the radio, and this is Meet Your Mentor. See you in a few. Hello, everyone. We are back. This is KCSB 91.9 on the radio. My name is Keon, and you are listening to Meet Your Mentors, where we talk with faculty and staff here at ECSB about everything, and it's pretty awesome. Today, we have a very special guest with us. His name is Dr. Stephen Bigelow, and he's from the mathematics department. There he is. And, so we're just in the last portion of our show, and we just want to talk to you a little bit about, first, what advice you have to students.
Advice. So, as I was saying to you before the break,
right.
I don't have that much advice because, the thing is, I feel like I came up in a completely different time, even though I'm not that old, right? Mm-hmm. Do I seem that old? No. Thank you. That's the right answer. But, for example, I did not use the internet to apply for graduate school. And that's almost unthinkable now, yeah. And,
it was pen and paper?
Yeah, pen and paper. So any advice I have to you guys with your Yik Yak and your Facebook and whatever is going to be completely irrelevant. I would say I could sort of give advice to my former self
sure.
if I were to talk to myself when I was an undergraduate. One thing I'd say is just lighten up a bit. Everything was so intense and sort of filled with angst. Even the having fun, the supposedly fun things like partying, was sort of filled with an intensity and a sort of a nihilistic, and like a need to prove that I'm a certain kind of person. And you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
So I wish I'd been able to relax a bit. Other piece of advice, you should probably dye your hair some crazy color. I kind of wish I'd done that. I suppose I could do that now, but, I kind of I want to look respectable. So,
I guess so.
So that's it. That's my advice.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Maybe dyeing your hair.
Lighten up and dye your hair crazy color. Yeah.
That's fun. That's good. And then do you have any funny stories to share?
Funny stories. So I threw up in class one time. That's kind of a funny story.
Yeah.
Actually, not in class. I did run out, and luckily there was a bathroom just across the hall. I made it to the bathroom. It was just some sort of food poisoning or something. I don't know. And how sometimes you throw up and you feel better?
Yeah.
So I came back, wiping my mouth off and just said, okay, let's keep going. But the students basically insisted that I cancel the rest of the class after that.
You were teaching?
I was teaching, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I thought this was like your undergrad.
Oh, throwing up as an undergraduate, yeah, that wouldn't
be
so scandalous, no.
Oh.
No, I'm in the middle of a sentence, so here's this matrix, and just a minute, and sprint out, and then sprint back and say, okay, where was I?
And then I'm sure it took them some time to gather what had happened, but it must have been funny just like have your professor bolting out of the class, and like you're like, what's going on?
No, I told them, I said, sorry, I just had to throw out there. So where was I?
What? Like, that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, great. Yeah, that was a good story.
Okay, good.
All right, great. Well, thank you very much. That brings us to the end of our Meet Your Mentors interview segment for the day. And again, we are with Dr. Stephen Bigelow from the mathematics department. Thank you again for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. My 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah, 15 minutes of fame. No problem. Okay. All right, so we're going to go to our string of songs here. This is going to be some more Oz rock from the 90s. This one is going to be Liar by Horsehead. Really good song, and we'll see you in a little bit.